everyone, it's Destiny, and today we're going to be discussing new tier list changes. And before we get into today's video, I would love to know which team you have been enjoying the most recently. For me, I have been really enjoying Astral and Blade. And lastly, if you do enjoy videos like these, consider subscribing to see some more content from me. And now let's get straight into it. So here we have the latest tier list changes, and we're immediately going to start off with Himeko Nova, as she is the newest addition to the tier list. And we also have characters that did go up on the tier list as well. For example, Remembrance Trailblazer. Welt currently has the little eyeball on him, which we'll discuss this shortly. So does Boba March. So getting straight into Himeko Nova here, as she is the newest character added to the tier list. She is in tier 0 in every single category, and Himeko Nova brings a brand new mechanic to Star Rail, being assist skills. And assist skills are a great way for her to deal damage when it isn't her turn, as well as being able to get more energy for her as well, so that you are able to take advantage of her ultimate numerous times throughout a fight. And on top of this, her ultimate is also a huge source of her damage output, so having teammates who can nicely utilize the assist skill or give her even more energy will be very valuable for Himeko. Which on top of this, if you have a Trailblaze companion on the team that uses the assist skill, Himeko will get one of two special effects, being either Companion Protocol Verdict or Companion Protocol Decimation. Verdict is more ideal when it comes to lower target situations, while Decimation will be more ideal for 3 targets or above. Ideally just having multiple targets on the field, as when it comes to Decimation in particular, to launch the additional assist skills, this will be based on how many enemies are getting attacked by your team, as Himeko will be able to gain charge for every enemy attacked. So let's say we had 5 enemies on the field. If let's say you had a character like Tribby on the team who can unleash an AoE follow-up attack, this would result in you gaining 5 charge for Himeko, which in order to use the extra assist skill through Protocol Decimation, you would need 9 charges. So in situations where there are multiple targets on the field, once again like 3 or more, this would be ideal for Decimation, which for these extra assist skills, you can only use 2 per battle. However, once you use her ultimate, this will reset the count. So that is something to keep in mind of as well when you are playing a character like Himeko Nova. As for Companion Protocol Verdict, how this will work is for every 2 ultimates your allies use, this will trigger an additional assist skill. So if you have teammates on the team that are able to use their ultimates frequently, this would be ideal so that Himeko is able to launch those additional assist skills. And when it comes to the additional buffs that both of these companion protocols will provide, Verdict will be useful for boosting Himeko's damage dealt as well as her ultimate damage dealt. And as for Companion Protocol Decimation, this provides team-wide buffs when it comes to buffing the crit damage of allies and also buffing the crit damage dealt by skills as well, which this does also include Himeko Nova herself and her assist skills. If you don't have any Trailblaze companions at all, you will essentially be missing a pretty important aspect of her kit when it comes to further boosting her damage output and also being able to launch more assist skills, meaning that you would lose out on the damage output from those assist skills and the extra energy being gained. So as a result, you definitely will want at least 1 Trailblaze companion when you are building a Himeko Nova team. And some of the best options would be Remembrance Trailblazer, Welt, Dawn Hung PT, you can use Sunday, and then of course there is also Hunt March 7th, which Hunt March 7th is more commonly used for an E2 Himeko. And out of the options I list, Trailblazer, Dawn Hung, and Sunday will be able to give Himeko Companion Protocol Verdict, while Welt and Hunt March 7th will be able to give Himeko Companion Protocol Decimation. And from there you would pick the remaining teammates for the team. For example, if you were to use a character like Mortenax Blade, he would be able to provide the defense strand onto enemies, the vulnerability. He'll also be able to use his ultimate often as well as deal AoE attacks, so he can be beneficial for either companion protocol as a result. In the future, let's say another new version of an Astral Express member comes out. For example, let's say we got a new Sunday or a new Welt, then that could end up being beneficial for Himeko Nova, as that could open up a new teammate for her as a result. So there is room for Himeko Nova to improve in the future, depending on just what characters end up releasing in relation to Astral Express members, or rather just Trailblaze companions in general. And then of course in the future, any supports that do provide beneficial buffs for her can also now be slot-in options for the remaining team. Overall though, Himeko Nova has shown great results so far as of her release, really curious to see how it might be in a couple patches from now, as some characters have progressively dropped while some characters have still remained at the top for quite some time. For example, a character like Castorice with Mono Remembrance has remained in tier 0. I believe at this point it's actually been over a year of her being in this placement. And when it comes to the rest of the characters, some of these characters are of course newer, for example Asheville, Silverwolf, Evanescia, but there's also characters that have gotten new synergies or even a Nova Flare that have risen up on the tier list. For example, characters like Acheron and characters like Firefly. So I am really curious to see just in the future how this tier list might end up shifting when it comes to either new characters that are releasing that could be potential synergies, and also in particular with Himeko Nova's case, who our next Trailblaze companion is going to be. I'd love to know though what you all think of Himeko Nova's kit, if you would place her in tier 0. Curious to see just in a couple of patches how things might shift up, as we are about to get Rin and Gilgamesh, which if I'm not mistaken last patch Pride did drop Archer, which I definitely believe Archer is about to go back up in tier 0, especially with the release of Rin. Rin is a very powerful ally for Archer, being able to dish out her own damage output, but also being able to provide more skill points for Archer as well with the joint follow-up attack, as once your skill points reach 3 or lower, or if you've already used 5 Archer arrows, then Rin and Archer will be able to launch that joint follow-up attack, gaining more skill points, which allows you, let's say you didn't use those 5 skills just yet, this will allow you to keep attacking with Archer, which I will be releasing a video specifically about Archer, Rin, and Sparkle in a couple of days, so do stay tuned for that, as I will be able to show off the team for you all very soon. But in the case of Archer, I can definitely see him going up to tier 0. I can also see Rin being in tier 0 as well, honestly. And when it comes to the other characters that currently have the little eyeball or have even gone up on the tier list, remember Trailblazer is now in tier 0, which for quite a while I was pointing out how I did feel like it was a little odd that Elation Trailblazer was in tier 0, but then Remembrance Trailblazer was down here in 0.5, but now they're both in the same tier, which I would love to know all of your opinion. Do you all agree with how many characters are now in tier 0? Now granted, a lot of them are very strong on which archetype they belong in. So for example, when it comes to super break teams, the Dahlia is one of the best characters you could pick up for that particular playstyle. Sparkle is more versatile now thanks to her Nova Flare buffs, and then of course she is a very strong option for a character like Archer. She's going to be very strong as well for Rin, so Sparkle is definitely getting more and more shine ever since her Nova Flare, and as the patches go on when it comes to her being an option you can slot into teams. Cyrene, of course, can be paired alongside the Chrysos heirs and is one of the best teammates right now for the Mono Remembrance team. So because of that, I could see why multiple of these characters are up here. And then Mortenax Blade is a very versatile character. He's able to dish out damage, he's able to greatly debuff enemies, as well as also provide buffs for the team as well. And he is just a very versatile option that you can slot into teams. And some would definitely argue that he can be considered just one of the best characters in the game currently. But that does make me wonder when it comes to Elation Trailblazer in particular. I'm not too sure if I would agree with Yao Guang and Elation Trailblazer being in the same tier due to what buffs Yao Guang is able to provide, especially her being able to trigger Aha Instant with her ultimate. She's able to help with the certified banger uptime of your characters thanks to her being able to trigger Aha Instant with her ultimate. And then on top of that, she is also able to still give some buffs that can further amplify the team's damage output. For example, she is going to be able to provide more elation for allies. She is going to be able to inflict a vulnerability debuff onto enemies with her elation skill. She can also increase the ult-type res pen of the team, and so on. So as a result, I'm not too sure I would honestly agree with Elation Trailblazer being alongside Yao Guang, but I'd love to know just all of your thoughts about that. If anything, I would probably put Elation Trailblazer a bit lower. And we can also see that Remembrance Trailblazer did go up, which I would mainly assume is thanks to Himeko Nova and them being one of her best partners, especially if you're trying to do Companion Protocol Verdict. Trailblazer will be able to provide this for Himeko. So as a result, they did go up on the tier list, which I would love to know all of your thoughts on that as well. They are able, of course, to provide mem support for Himeko, allowing her to deal true damage onto enemies. so that is of course beneficial for her damage output. Welt also has a little eyeball on him, which he is also a great partner for Himeko Nova as well. There could be potential maybe for him to move around on the tier list. Same with March. I would assume that they are maybe going to wait for another endgame rotation or two before deciding to either move them up or keep them where they are in relation to how Himeko Nova is performing in just the top teams with her. Overall though, I'm really excited to just see this update as well with Rin and Gilgamesh. Once again, when it comes to Rin and Archer in particular, I'm pretty confident that they will be in tier 0. I'm interested to see where they will place Gilgamesh. And then on top of that, in the next patch, we also have Aventurine, who is going to be another Elation character. And we also have Robin as well, who's going to be Remembrance. So we're gonna have to wait and see to know full details on them in regards to what they'll fully end up doing, which I'll be able to give more coverage on that closer to the end of this patch when we are getting the live stream. But for all of you that are unsure if you want to pull Himeko, if you haven't just yet, or even like the Fate banners or the reruns, in relation to Himeko, her banner will last all patch. So if you are considering Robin or Aventurine, then I would wait until their live stream so you can see whether you want Himeko or if you maybe even want one of the 4.5 characters instead. And when it comes to Rin and Gilgamesh, they will have an extended banner as well, similar to Archer and Saber. And because of that, if there is a character you want right now in 4.4 or even 4.5, I would advise holding off on pulling the Fate banner, as that banner will be extended. So as a result, you can get those characters essentially at any time. So if there's a character you want right now that has a limited period of being here, I would recommend you prioritize them first, just so you don't miss out on pulling them. And of course, for example, for your Archer, picking up Rin later on so that you're able to further improve your Archer team, if that is something you are aiming for. And real quick, speaking of pulling characters, I wanted to make a quick mention of Aniba. I have been using Aniba now for a couple of months, and Aniba is in 100% compliance with Hoyoverse's policies and is a safe way to get more pulls, and there's also cash back. All you have to do is type in your UID, pick the pack you'd like to purchase, and boom, there we go. And with Aniba's cash back, this can let you get even more pulls. All you have to do is go to your order, claim cashback, and now you can use your cashback to purchase even more Oneric shards. I wanted to say thank you to Aniba for sponsoring today's video. Lastly, I'd love to know just all of your thoughts on the tier list. Is there any characters that you would move around? Oh, I forgot to say Asheville. I'm loving Asheville so much right now, especially with Mortenax Blade. They are such a strong core when it comes to the defense shred they're able to provide, as Asheville is going to be able to give 40%. And then Mortenax Blade is going to be able to give 30%. So right off the bat, if you have both of them on your team, you have 70% defense shred, which is huge for increasing the damage output of Asheville himself, Blade's own damage. And then if you have another damage dealer on the team, they could take advantage of it. Or if you decide to just put another support to further amplify their damage output, it just makes for a very powerful team at the current moment. So I'm currently very happy with how Asheville is performing, as well as Blade. They're just such a fun synergy with one another. Asheville's follow-up attacks being able to get more charge for Blade so that Blade can attack more often. And then Blade attacking more often results in you getting more energy for Asheville, as Blade is attacking the bait. So they're able to work very nicely with one another, and I just love playing them both together on a team. But yeah, I'd love to know just all of your thoughts on all of the characters here. Anyone you would move around, any characters you have been enjoying lately, or just teams you've been having fun with. And my next videos will be going over the Fate characters, so do stay tuned for that. And I hope all of you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, do make sure to subscribe, leave a like to support today's video, and I hope to see you all next time. Peace.